We're live. Welcome to another episode of Gavin Reshaw Presents. We are live. We are live. Now, why don't you drop and give me five? Man, what's going on, everybody? Welcome again. Thank you for joining in. We're waiting for getting more people in right now uh, on this Sunday night, July 14th, 2019. It's 11:26 here in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the evening. Uh, Guys, it's actually, we've been dealing with Barry, Tropical Storm Barry, and I'm buried out. Uh, Honestly, we didn't have it too bad down here. I know that when you watch the national, have somebody stand in a puddle of water and say, "Oh, it's flooded in New Orleans." It's actually saw one video where someone was actually in a cemetery in New Orleans or somewhere here in Louisiana, and we're talking about how the graves are floating. If you can see all the water here, it's causing the graves to pop up out of the ground, which it wasn't. The graves were already there. Just the water was just flooded in that part, but the graves weren't floating. Or when you have or a truthfully by one newscaster. I think it was some outside, it was national news outside of Lafayette as well, but they were talking about it because Hurricane Barry made landfall, in the mid to western portion of Louisiana. So New Orleans didn't get that much, though we got a lot of rain, and it had been off and on mostly, and right now it's just quiet right now, so it's good. But it's been crazy weekend, guys. So let's get into it. You've seen my link in the description. By the way, if you can, guys, you can please show your support for me. I have Cash App. I have Google Pay. We have, of course, Apple Pay. If you need, you have my email, gavin.grich1@gmail.com. You can anything you can to contribute to me dealing with the channel. Gavin Richard ESQ, also on Cash App. If you can, just shout out. I'm going to put some links here in the box for a minute so you all can see what we're talking about tonight. And we are going in on this Jeffrey Epstein and R. Kelly, a tale of two cities, basically a study in black and white. Now, from the start, I'm not going to try to make this a long video. I'm tired, but this was something that was on my mind that I needed to talk about. From the start, I want to get it clear because what happens often when we talk about this Me Too thing that's going on, when we talk about R. Kelly, a lot of you Negroes get mad because it comes off or you guys think I am supporting or I'm a defender of R. Kelly. And I've actually gotten into arguments with people about it. I've lost friends about it. And I'm here to tell you I'm not having it. If you don't like the topic in conversation, get your own damn channel and put whatever you want. And that's not just about R. Kelly. It's on everything because I've had people go out the Motown tribute, which I've gotten more comments on that than even the Aretha Franklin video I did, which had more views. And going back and forth, I'm not going to go back and forth with you motherfuckers about my opinion, period. If you don't like it, find somewhere else to go. You're free to comment. You're free to talk about anything. If you disagree, I'm not even mad at you disagreeing with me, but you want to go back and forth and make it personal, take the shit somewhere else. Stop it. So, and having said all of that, this is not a defense of what R. Kelly is alleged to have done. Although, as an attorney, I believe in due process. I believe that all people are presumed innocent until proven guilty. He has not been proven guilty, and that's just a fact. Jeffrey Epstein, he has not been proven guilty of these new charges, although, yes, he has a history, and he and R. Kelly do have histories, but what's the difference is that with Mr. Epstein, he pled guilty to, I believe, a lesser charge, and he only served 13 months in jail. And according to the information that I'm reading if you believe Wikipedia, of course, Wikipedia is not always 100% accurate, but I rely on them. Let's just say that he was accused and convicted for solicitation of child prostitution. So a 14-year-old girl, and he served 13 months in custody with work release. So basically, he was given a pass, a slap on the wrist. And apparently, it was a plea deal as part where federal officials had identified 36 victims, and the plea deal was made with the United States uh, attorney, Alexander Acosta. And of course, Alexander Acosta is now was the Secretary of Labor under Donald Trump. And because of the controversy with the 2008 plea deal, he was forced to resign. This era that we're in, guys, with the Me Too movement, it's very, and I've said before and commented what my criticisms are of it. Uh, if we go back and forth, the fact that we can go in someone's past, uh, it is very dangerous now that you can, and it's very interesting that I find that you can go into someone's past, a prosecutor, for instance, who makes a plea deal, and something that happened 10, 12, 20 years ago. That interesting. And of course, we see that also works in a good way because we saw that what happened and is getting her comeuppance now because of the way she handled the case 30 years ago. See, they didn't have Facebook and Twitter in the 1980s, and they didn't have Netflix, obviously. Of course, while this was a movie that, uh, some aspects of it were fictional, I'm sure, because, everything, you create a storyline, some things are clearly scripted. There are some things also that were truthful, and the truth was from the records in the court case, these boys did not have any DNA. There were traces of DNA were not on this victim. Now, I don't want to get off topic because I already talked about when they see us. So, but with Epstein, he is facing now new charges of federal charges of sex trafficking of minors in Florida and New York. And I don't think it was a coincidence. And this is the article. It's from July 12th of 2019. So this past week, July 7th, excuse me. So that Sunday, he was arrested. And this is for sex trafficking between 2002 and 2005. Now, what's interesting, the very same week, on this Thursday, let me back up because I got to make this point to you all too. I had a conversation this past Wednesday with a friend of the show, a friend of mine. You guys know him, Drew Story News. Drew and I were talking about various things, the projects he's doing, and shout out to him again. Subscribe to his channel. Also, let me also say this: subscribe to We All Be News. Brother Ron Hurd did a great job with the interview I did on his program. Also, Nicole from Nicole's View. Nicole, I haven't heard from you in a while, girl. I hope you're good. Subscribe to her channel. Harvey Superboy from Your World. There's a bunch of people I can name, but main thing I wanted to discuss, though, was the fact that in this conversation that I had with Drew, we were talking about how Epstein got arrested. And he mentioned, I wonder what the end all game was with this. Because normally when we see this, even with the Harvey Weinstein case, how that's playing out, Weinstein basically is avoiding jail time. He's settled his cases with his accusers. Now, of course, the criminal case has not been officially dismissed, but we know it was partially dismissed last year when they found emails and text messages of one of the alleged victims, basically talking about how she enjoyed herself, had a good time. And this is a further criticism that I have with Me Too, is that it's basically making the casting couch rape, which it that is not rape. What is rape is when you obviously, if you know the definition, it's the forcing a person without their consent uh, for sexual favors. So it doesn't matter if it's vaginal penetration, excuse my language, or anal or oral, whatever it is, those things, you force someone to do that, that's rape. Now, how is it rape if it's something where you're trying to advance your career? That if you have sex with a married man, something that's been going on in Hollywood, not just in Hollywood, but politicians in general, where they just have sex with each other, and you want to advance your career, and you go to these parties and these functions, and you go to the hotel room when you're invited, and you know he's married, and you go to the hotel room at 11 o'clock at night. You are not, these women are not that naive. Now, there are some, I'm not going to say that there aren't any legitimate cases of rape. Absolutely, there are. And they need to be dealt with. Those motherfuckers that rape somebody, they got to go. But I think without due process, we would be damned. And without evidence, we even further that, like what we saw with Bill Cosby case, when you don't have Bill Cosby on Inside this past week, that clip Tariq Nasheed, shout out to him, posted, was one of the most racist things uh, that I've seen, that you would bring up Bill Cosby with Jeffrey Epstein because Bill Cosby lived not far from Jeffrey Epstein. That was the point of the Inside Edition clip that they have to mention. You see, whenever theirs do wrong, these people do wrong, they have to, again, get a black person to negate what they've done or to even it out. And henceforth, this is our conversation. R. Kelly comes in and gets arrested subsequently on this past Thursday for charges. Now, what are the odds that you think that these two men, one who is an American financier, an investor, as estimated, and you can look at the link, he's worth over $1 billion, according to court documents, statements from his attorneys. He even owned his own plane at one point, which isn't a shock. But what are the odds that this man gets arrested on Monday and then subsequently R. Kelly gets arrested the same week? And they're talking about this all in the media and the press about Jeffrey Epstein. Before Jeffrey Epstein even was arrested on sex trafficking charges, black media like Professor Black Truth had been talking, and Tariq Nasheed and Your World, Harvey Superboy, and others have been talking about this guy. Now, they're talking about him now mostly when you look at mainstream media. It's about his relationship with one Donald Trump. They're only briefly mentioning his relationship with Bill Clinton. You see, in mainstream media now, and I will say this for the most part, is the of the Democratic. Fox appeals to the Republican Party, and it's the left arm, or I should say left arm of the Democratic Party is the mainstream media, because leftists is always associated with the Democrats and right wing associated with the Republicans, but it's all part of the same bird, And while I don't identify, I am a registered Democrat. I've gotten disgusted with the things that I've seen and what they've support. Now, that's not to say I fully endorse Republicans, and I'm rambling again, guys. Let me get back on track. So, ADD. No, let me get back on track. So, my point is that we have selective outrage, where we want to be outraged at one thing and look at one, focus on one aspect and not the other. If we're going to focus on his relationship with Donald Trump, which Trump claims that they hadn't talked since 1999. He's a bad guy. I don't necessarily don't believe that, but billionaires, those guys hang out all the time with each other. But I noticed that they brought up Chris Tucker and Bill Clinton and a few other people, and you can look at that in the article that I uploaded on Wikipedia, and I'll upload it again, where they talked about Jeffrey Epstein. But you notice They're mentioning Chris Tucker. And what I know about Chris Tucker, number one, Chris Tucker and Bill Clinton, he was moving into Harlem and he was going to Africa. Chris Tucker was with him. Now, what they mentioned in a New York Post article is basically he flew, Chris Tucker and Bill Clinton to Africa, where, of course, Chris Tucker would do all of these shows in Africa, different countries. So I don't think it's anything where Chris Tucker was caught in to sexual abuse charge, sexually abusing young girls or sex trafficking. But you notice they throw his name in there, and very little do they talk about Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton, as President Clinton, he has been accused, of course, of in different areas of sexual assault. Now, of course, they're not going to say anything, and they don't want to focus on that aspect because everything is going to focus on Trump because Trump is in office, and it went against everything that the mainstream media wanted. They wanted to push for a Hillary Clinton and in the presidency. And let me say this, and Donald Trump is wrong on a lot of things. I don't like him, but when he talks about fake news, he's not lying about that. Jason Ringo says Clinton will go down. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't think he will. I don't think he will. In this society, the things that we have now, when white men get accused of, powerful white men get accused of doing the same thing as a black man, they're not given the same treatment that the black man is. Hence, Bill Cosby is in jail 3 to 10, but Jeffrey Epstein is accused of molesting minor children, and these are federal charges. But he got a slap on the wrist. And by the way, when the feds have you, very rarely does it mean, very rarely, I'm not going to say you can't get off, but they don't invest money and time like that unless they really got something on you, unless it's politically motivated, which I think, and it brings me with R. Kelly, some of it is socially engineered and it goes to selective outrage. Obviously we had heard stories about R. Kelly. I knew what this guy was up to. I had ideas of it, but nobody said anything. And some of these women, if we're going to be honest, they came around him regardless of it. One girl's mother and her mother met R. Kelly, and this even came out in that docuseries, while he was at trial for child pornography charges. He was at trial, and they still went to him. Parents pimp these girls out. That's just what it is. And I saw a very interesting, Boyce Watkins put up a video of R. Kelly's publicist arguing with his father. And what R. Kelly's publicist said to the father was like, very interesting. If they had my daughter in there, and he was talking about where R. Kelly was in Trump Tower, and you see how this all connects to Trump too. R. Kelly is staying in Trump Towers in Chicago, and Jeffrey Epstein knew Donald Trump, and so forth. It's all connected, I think. But getting back, R. Kelly's publicist said, if my daughter was in there, I would drive a truck through the building. And so what he's basically was telling the father is, why ain't you off your ass going after your daughter? Why are you on the news? Why are you doing this and that? Because if my daughter was kidnapped or harmed in any way, I would move hell and high water to go get her, personally. And I think any man would. And it goes to my point. I do believe that a lot of these parents pimp these kids out. Now, when it comes to the charges that he's facing with sex trafficking, another question I got to ask, though, is, again, where are the parents? Because if he's not getting those kids, if he allegedly was sex trafficking, and these are not just kids, my understanding from what the attorney said in the bill of indictment, there were adults too. So how do you traffic? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Let me be clear, but how do you traffic an adult? If you willingly go to the man's apartment, if you willingly go to the house, if you willingly go to the hotel room, you consent to do that. Now, you're a grown woman living with him. You've been living in his Chicago apartment for 2 years, for several years. You got two living girlfriends. And what's the difference between R. Kelly and Hugh Hefner? I've heard reports of minors. You know, there have been reports that there were girls underage at the Playboy Mansion. I know they mentioned it with Bill Cosby, uh, and Gloria Allred was representing, or is representing one of these girls. But you know, you don't hear too much about that now. And you got to ask, how are these minors, if all of this did happen, how are they able to get in there? And why wasn't Hugh Hefner being sued like they sued Cosby? And how can they prove that the minor was there 40 years ago? You know, if girls go up to, and these girls who are R. Kelly's girlfriends, I remember when he with Gil King, and they rigorously defended him, and they spoke out against their parents, and Gail King got her ass slapped. And speaking of which, I don't think she got, rightfully so. I was happy that those girls came at Gail King for the way she, you know, even though, again, I'm not, but the way she handled the interview, obviously, uh, they play on stereotypes. Her and Oprah, what she did with the Michael Jackson case, you know, you weren't fooling anybody, and they've given Gail King multi-million-dollar contract extension that's actually bankrupting CBS. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they reported in CBS that many people were shaken up. It has shaken up the foundations of CBS that Gayle King got all of this new money because they're going to have to cut jobs, obviously, to pay for that. You know, so that's causing a problem. Give me 1 second, guys. Here's the article you can look at on Gayle King. Yeah, Lamar, I think R. Kelly's going to be put away. And if you're rehashing something from outside the statute of limitations, which his attorney seemed to even indicated that it was the same charges. If it came in, then you're going around double jeopardy. You need to, you know, it's clearly politically motivated. So, guys, I'm about to wrap this video up, but I think I've covered mostly what I wanted to. I think that while there's similarities in it, I don't think it was a coincidence that Kelly and Epstein were, you know, Epstein's arrested and then Kelly is arrested 3 days later. Uh, you know, I think it's tied in. I think that was, to answer my brother Drew question, I think that's the end all game. We're still keeping, and you know, 400 years after from 400 years when the slaves arrived, and 170 plus 150 plus years since the end of the Civil War, and 50 plus years since 60 something plus years since Brown versus the Board of Education uh, was held by the Supreme Court. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember. If I'm slow and I'm not speaking fast enough, it's my head. It's not my heart. I just appreciate you guys being on here and talking, and we will do something else. We're going to have some guests come on pretty soon in the near future. You guys just stay tuned. Great things are happening. So that's it for me. But check out these articles. I want to ask y'all, do y'all think, let me see. I think this is a YouTube video from, yeah, this was the press conference that got interrupted. I'm going to post the link right here. Oh. There you go. Let's see if we can hear a little bit of it.
Miss Kim was arrested yesterday.
Answer that question.
Walking his dogs yesterday.
Move.
After he walked his dogs, he for the same charges a decade ago.
Yeah, already, bro. Where's my daughter?
The same charges he had
Kelly
before.
is in there right now in jail. I want to know where my daughter is. Where's she at? Answer that. Answer that.
Walking his dogs.
No, move.
After he walked his dogs, he was arrested. Illinois and the Eastern District of New York. He's in Cook County right now. He's been held. He's probably going to be arraigned sometime today.
And for those that want to know, just a little quick legal advice, a little legalese, not advice, but just telling you, anybody's wondering why they're charging him and he has a state charge, is that the feds and the state both have what's called sovereignty. They're dual sovereignty. So the feds can charge him on their charges and the state can charge him on their charges. There's no thing. It's two different arenas. But most definitely, do I think they're connected? Yeah. So I posted a link to that. Guys, that's it for me. You guys stay safe. Have a blessed week. Let's make Monday beautiful, although I know it's tough. Just coming off of a long holiday for me, but I was working actually from home doing things. So I can work from home now and it'll be easier. So at my job. So that's good for me. And you guys have a good night. Sleep tight. Peace.